Roohaa Degozaru no bideo Buroogu heyokuzo do Desu-cretion. Do desu ka, indeed. You may be asking yourself, what's with the camera angle? Well, I just looked at this. It kind of runs in my family, but I don't know what's up with that. I've been eating pretty good. Maybe I'm just growing up. Anyway, no use focusing on things that don't really matter, right? Well, welcome back to the Roohaa Degozaru bideo Buroogu 2011 edition. So, this is just a quick little blog because I recently got a question from, I may go so far as to call him a fan, because we've been shooting messages back and forth, and he seems real interested in the Japans, as it were, and he asked a good question. His name is, as according to the honorable internet YouTube nickname, first things first. Alright, here we go. Here he is. He says, it's capital contested. Oh wait, that's my response. Are there any kids in class interactive at all? Or is it just kind of babysitting with the elementary kids? You should get some Japanese girl to tidy up the apartment, even though it's way cleaner than mine. Is it hard being a Westerner in a small town and meeting girls? Any cultural stigma against girls dating whitey? Well, my friend, I can answer those questions to the best of my ability. I'm not an expert or anything. Granted, I'm in the pans, but it doesn't mean I'm an expert on them. Granted, I love them with all my heart, but doesn't mean I know anything. So, that's my disclaimer for what I'm about to say. Are there kids in class interactive at all, or is it babysitting with elementary kids? Elementary schools in Japan, as far as an ALT is concerned, an assistant language teacher, I feel like they can go a few different ways. And it varies on two main factors. How many kids you have in your class, that's a huge factor. And how the homeroom teacher treats them, that's another huge factor. And as far as interactivity is concerned, if the homeroom teacher is the kind of teacher that always is yelling and like tells them to shut up all the time or tells them they're loud or whatever, you know, basically the teacher you get in elementary school and you're like, oh, she's so mean, I don't get it. If you have that kind of teacher, the kids will be in this mindset where they're pretty scared. And especially when a foreigner shows up and they're like, donut, donut, say donut. You know, or whatever vegetable or fruit or, you know, occupation or object in the room you happen to have to tell them, they'll just shut up completely. They'll repeat what you say as a group, but the second you try and call one of them out or say anything, it'll just be like, stop the show and you just gotta roll with it, or else, you know, there's nothing you can do. And typically, I find that happens in classes with the mean teacher. I really only have, I'd say, maybe one of those classes, and it's not a big deal. Personally, I dread it because it's annoying. But you can get around that real easy by having like a pretty good game. You know, once you get the kids to forget that they're in a class and they have to learn, that's when you can really get through to them, I think. I'm not really an expert at teaching English at all. In fact, I'm a fledgling at best. But you say the G word, game, and the kids, they give you a lot more leeway than anything. And it's funny how that works. But, yeah, small classes in the elementary school, you'd be surprised, man. It can be great. You can get to know them one-on-one, you can talk to them, and you can really get through to them. Sometimes, they, you know, it's such a small class that they're having conversations, and, you know, you just run out of activities because they can bang through them so quickly. In bigger classes, you got to spend time controlling them, and you know, you got to contend with class clowns I have one school with small classes, and it happens to be my favorite elementary school. Even if I don't have a lot prepared, and it always pulls through in the end, and it's great, and the kids love it, and you can do a lot more interesting things with them. Whereas in the bigger class, it's like you gotta appeal to this huge audience. Team games and group games are like a must. And the second you lose a little bit of momentum, one kid will start talking, and then they'll just never shut up. And in Japan, they don't yell at kids, so I mean, it's up to you to just yell over the top of all these kids that are basically screaming at the top of their lungs. So I wouldn't so much as call it babysitting as it is contending with babies. I made a comment that my room was not clean in the last time. I mean, not much has changed. It's completely the same state. Honestly, my room's not that bad. I said I got furniture, but yeah, some stuff here and there. It's just a table that's cluttered. After a D&D game on Thursday, it'll be better. You should get a Japanese girl to tidy up the apartment, even though it's way cleaner than mine. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really concerned about a girl cleaning my apartment because I'm usually a pretty clean guy. As far as tidying up my room is concerned, I go back and forth between like a weekend where I just throw everything on the ground, and then I just binge on cleaning, and then my place looks pretty good. I don't say I have OCD, but I have that like organizing desire. You see a bunch of pencils eraser up and one of them's point up and you're like, it's not gonna last long, I need to change it, stuff like that. So I appreciate a table and all the magazines squared up at the corners like a psychopath. So I'll get around to it eventually. It's just getting back into work. Work's work. Is it hard being a Westerner in a small town and meeting girls? So far, the student has 2 questions about girls in Japan. I'm going to touch on my final point, which will be a tirade, but I'm going to touch upon that in a minute. And I said, in my response to him, the tough part about being in a small town is the fact that it's small. Locating the youth can be a difficult situation. And it's true, Sano, you go to the mall. Like, that's what Sano's famous for. We're famous for ramen, shoyu ramen, and emo fry, which is not as famous as I thought. And we're famous for an outlet mall, which basically means people that want to come and buy bagu. That's what they do. They come here and they buy their bagu. So you go to these locations, like there's a huge mall called Eon. It's basically where kids hang out, a lot of people. And you just see like tons of people your age, and you're like, where the hell are you people? You're walking around town, and you never see them. You only see older people and people in, I guess, the ALT age bracket, which is like 22 or 23 to, I'd say, like 30, 35. That's a rough estimate, but, the young adult budding into a pure adulthood, I feel like that it's tough to find people around here. I mean, a lot of the dives I go to, it's normally a bunch of old people, and it's not like I go to dives all that frequently. I normally just hang with my friends. I met a couple people, but even then they're still a little bit older than me. Like, I just turned 24 recently, and they're like borderline in their 30s, and I mean, pretty much my best JP buddy, he's in his late 30s, and he's cool as shit. But I mean, it's just like, I don't know, it's tough to really connect with people my age here. And I like chilling with older folks personally. Not older folks, but I like chilling with people older than me because you avoid a lot of the Japanese like naivety and drama, which is associated with a lot of young people who are just like, I'm so cute, super kawaii, all that stuff, that weeaboo nonsense. But being a Westerner, honestly, it depends on how used to Japan you are. Are you ever going to have with you is about the weather, or how awesome you are at using chopsticks if you can use them, or how if you say konbanwa, which means good night, if you say konbanwa at night instead of konnichiwa, you're immediately sugoi jozu at Nihongo, which basically means you're the best at Japanese of all time. You know, you walk up to a Japanese person and you're just like, excuse me, where's the 7-Eleven? They're like, oh my god, you're so good at Japanese, I can't believe this is... So, I mean, it's not really so much a small town as it is being a Westerner in Japan, really. The only difference is, do you need Tokyo around you at all times? I mean, Sano is definitely out in the country, but it's a pretty decent-sized town. It's not a capital or a big city, but there's a lot more here than I originally thought. Meeting girls, right? You can go to the mall. You can go to the mall, and, you know, go hunt women if that's what you're into. Cultural stigma against girls dating white people or Westerners in general. So I'm sure I know a couple of black guys and a couple of mulatto gentlemen as well who are trying to get down with the JPs. So I mean, it's not just whitey, it's all of us foreigners. We gotta stick together, in a sense. Now you wonder why everyone foreign sticks together at home, right? Well, I wouldn't say there's a big stigma, but I mean it's definitely not traditional. It's like I feel like the Japanese want to keep it in the family. So not like that. No. I completely realized what I said after I said they want to keep it Japanese for the most part. They usually don't mind it, but I mean, it's not like, oh, mom and dad, I'm dating a gaijin, you know? They don't probably run home and say it. It's probably something like, I need to tell you this, I'm dating a foreigner. And, I don't know, Japanese people, they're modern, you know? Some people would hate it, and they'd freak out, and the other people would be like, wow, that's amazing, go practice English and make a lot of money. But that was the third question regarding women in Japan. Capital contested, my man, I appreciate your interest in Japan. I do, wholeheartedly. But one thing that bugs me the most, and not just you, it's a lot of people. I mean, it seems like a lot of foreigners just come to Japan to try and score some pussy. And that bothers me tremendously. There's a phrase called nanpa, which is basically, you know, picking up girls. And foreigners are notorious for doing it, and I mean, a lot of them, you know, you can't blame them. I mean, I think Asian women are beautiful, but I feel like if that's your whole reason for coming to Japan, that you're a scumbag. I'm not saying that's you at all, Mr. Capital C, but it's just a lot of women-themed questions. People also think, oh, I'm a foreigner, I'm coming to Japan. It's a, it's an automatic, like, oh, boom, gonna show up, they're gonna fall over me. I used to think that too. But, I mean, really, that's not the case. Some guys are lucky, but some guys aren't. I mean, the thing with Japan is, if you don't know anybody, no one's going to talk to you. So you have to find a way to get into their circles of communication and circles of trust. Because imagine like trying to get into a prestigious school. You need letters of recommendation, right, from everybody. Well, that's kind of like what you're doing in Japan just by meeting people. Like, everybody has this small group of people called a nakama, which is basically just like group of friends. And you are outside of that. So that's why you walk down the street and you say hello to people, and they'll just look at you like, oh my god, that guy just said hello to me, I have nothing to do with him. Because there's a lot of responsibility that comes with nakama that Westerners don't realize. And some things I don't even realize, you know. I'm not infallible. I mean, I'm infallible, but no, I'm not infallible. I am infallible. I'm mixing myself up. But that nakama, in order to really meet girls, I feel like you gotta be on the inside of that. course, you can just meet them at the bar or meet them wherever they happen to be. I went to a wine festival and I met a lot of really cool people. You know, give them your phone number, talk to them. But it's super, like, I feel like it's super one way. And a Japanese girl can just cut off communication with you immediately and just say that they're busy. That's how you know if a Japanese person doesn't want anything to do with you, because they'll just mysteriously be busy every time you want to meet up with them. And they will never directly, typically, they will never directly say, like, I don't want you to talk to me anymore, stop talking to me. They will just keep, you know, not leading you on, but they'll be like, oh yeah, let's hang out. No, I can't, I'm busy. Until the point where, like, they won't tell you that they're busy anymore, and you'll show up to meet them, and then you'll just be like, well, what the hell? Where are you? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm busy. And that's when you finally realize, like, oh, okay. I went on a couple dates with a cop back in, well, I shouldn't say a couple. It was like 2. Like I said, it's a couple. But back when I studied abroad, this girl who was in Keisatsu, we went out, we did karaoke and dinner and all that. And then she, you know, I kept trying to hang out with her. I was like, hey, you know, I had such a good time. She's like, I had a great time too. Let's practice English. We'll practice Japanese. You know, and then, like, you keep trying to make plans. Keep trying to make plans. And then it's just like, oh, sorry, I'm busy. Oh, work's so busy. And, you know, part of you wants to say, like, oh, yeah, no, they're probably busy. They're probably busy. But then, like, after, like, a month, you're like, nah, they're probably not busy. They're just not going to make any time for me. So, I mean, that's really how it is. And you have to be careful with that. So, I mean, I kind of went off on a little tangent and even touched on some memories there. Oh, good times, right? But, you know, it's not all about the women. And if you make it all about the women, then you're going to end up like so many other dirty American scumbags that live in this country. And that's empty and earning my hatred utterly. But, you know, I kind of went down a dark road there towards the end. But yeah, that's a short description of elementary school. Short description of elementary school, I said. No, but I meant to talk about middle school a little bit, but I can do that another time. To end everything on a good note, my main man, Pots and Pans, the highballer, I recently showed him in the Hokkaido episodes of everything. The highballer brought my attention to this article. You see this? Whoa, these are tiger masks. And basically, this is an article by Roland Buroogu of BBC News Tokyo. And this tiger mask is a professional wrestler, that's his name, Tiger Mask, who always donated his winnings to an orphanage that he was raised at, because he's a super badass and all this stuff. But there's been a funny, crazy thing going on. It began on Christmas Day with the donation of school bags. The donor refused to give his name, but left a drawing of a man's face hidden behind a tiger mask. And the article goes on to talk about how this guy started to, well, one guy donated a couple things under Tiger Mask. He was anonymous. It read, and then he refused to leave his name. He left a note that said, I am Tiger Mask. I have come to your city, and I want to distribute gifts to all the children's homes here. And then, like wildfire, just like out of the movie Pay It Forward, Tiger Mask people started jumping up out of nowhere. And after the news report of the initial guy doing it, a wave of anonymous philanthropy in the character's name has begun. Orphanages are receiving satchels, other fruit, vegetables, bags of rice. One donor left more than 92,000 yen in cash, which is just about $1,000, with a note saying, there are tiger masks across Japan. So, I don't know. I'll leave you with that. The highballer shot that link my way, and it brought a smile to my cold world. And I don't mean cold as in, like, oh my god, I hate my life, as in, like, it's chilly. I have a scarf and a coat on, even though my heater's on. My feet are freezing. My feet have always had bad circulation, but I'm not going to get into that. But I thought this was going to be a short video, but I have a feeling, I'm just going to guess right now, I have a feeling it's like 13 minutes and 45 seconds. So on that note, my friends,